Good morning. I always do. I guess I'll start out about the game and just a brief synopsis. I was proud of the way the guys played, how hard they played. Obviously, there's some things that we could have done better as far as the touchdowns that we gave up. All right, and the 2 touchdowns that we gave up were actually touchdowns that maybe we could have easily defended those if we were just more detailed oriented. And I would say that's more on some of the coaches. We have to make sure we're more detailed oriented, and then the players got to make sure they're more detailed oriented also. But overall, when you look at the total yards, we gave up 250 yards, 50 yards rushing, like 200 passing. But I told our guys that really doesn't tell the whole tale. When you're just looking at stats as a defensive coach, right, you might be happy about that. But when you peel the onion back, there's some things in that we could have done better, right? And the guys, I explained to the guys, and they know that, and they see that. As far as how they just adjust and they start dinking, dunking, and start taking advantage of some of the zones that we're in. So we got to do a better job of matching coverages, and as coaches, we got to do a better job of coaching that.
Justin?
Hey, Aaron, I think we all recognize your unit's been playing a lot better since the bye week. You hear me all right?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I'm just curious, how much do you believe as a former player and now a coach that success carries over year to year? How much of this do you think carries over to next season, what you do here down the stretch?
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with confidence. And I've said to the players a million times, my confidence comes from demonstrated ability. And each week the guys go out there and they play hard. They understand exactly what we're doing. And they understand the scheme more than anything. And that allows them to play fast, allows them to play with aggression, and allows them to play more physical. So going into next year, there's no doubt that the players will play even better. And I'm excited about going to the next year, but I want to make sure this year we finish this thing out the right way. And
then one player in particular, I know everybody can gain something from these last 2 games, but with Fatu, he had the lengthy time off with the injury. Just got back into a bigger role this last week. What can these last 2 games mean for a player like that doesn't have a whole lot of reps under their belt going into their second season?
Say that one more time. Who are you talking about?
Fatu, Melifonwu.
Oh, Iffy, yeah. Well, listen, we expect a lot from Iffy. We think that he's a matchup guy for us. We use him in that role against Pitts, and he's done a good job. That, I mean, obviously he got beat for the 135 yard, but that guy's a good player too. So, but if he did some good things in there, all right. So the one thing we want to make sure going to these last 2 games, we get a really good look at how we can put him in positions to utilize the skill set, because he is a guy that we're looking forward in the future to being one of our main guys.
Thanks, Aaron.
Tim?
Hey, Aaron, I wanted to ask you just about Jalen Reeves-Maybin a little bit. Here's a guy who before this year was a special teams guy who could play a little bit of defense if you needed him to, but that seems to have changed this year. I mean, he's really shown something on defense, just what you've seen from him and how important he's been for your defense really all year long.
Man, that guy's a football player. The thing is, he loves football. You clearly see that when he's on the field. Anytime you have a player of that magnitude, man, you can't help but just put him on the field. You can't help but just play him. And I know he was regulated to special teams years before, but he's shown that he can be a starting inside linebacker. So hopefully he continue to compete. We're always going competition here, and he will have his chance, all right, to be our starting inside linebacker. So he's had a great year. Still has ways to go, but we're excited about that player.
Dave?
Hey, just to make sure I'm clear, when you say he'll have a chance to be your starting inside linebacker, you're talking about next year?
I knew you were going to say that.
Just trying to be clear.
Go ahead. What's your question?
No, that's it. I mean, you're talking about next year, right? He's got a chance to be a starting inside linebacker next year?
Well, I'll tell you this. He has the capabilities to be that, so I know that I'm assuming he's a free agent, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, any of our guys that are free agents, we would love to have those guys back. Dave, you tried to get me.
No, it's fair. All right. The two things I did.
But all good. But I mean, obviously, we want the player back. I mean, there's no doubt about that because he's a good player. Any one of our players that are free agents, we want him back. You know, so and if he does come back, I mean, he definitely is going to get a chance to be that starting inside linebacker.
No, that's fair. The two things I did want to ask, can you just, and you've probably done this before, and I apologize, but explain the importance of the safety position in your defense. You know, what that spot means to you, why it's so important, why you've had productive safeties over the course of your.
That's a very important position in this defense for many reasons. One, because it's the playmaker's position. And two, it's the quarterback of the defense, to be honest with you, when you look at the back end and really just the back seven, including the linebackers, because of the communication that's involved in being in that position. There's a lot of times when they're freed up, they can read the quarterback and go make plays. And there are other times when they have to get down the box to be able to make tackles. So it's an important position for us. We know the value that position brings in this defense. And I'll tell you what, Tracy has improved drastically in doing that. So we just got to continue to hone in on the details with those guys. But you're right. I mean, that position, it requires a lot. It requires a lot. And you have to be a heady player to play that position. And our guys have been doing a pretty good job at it.
And the other thing I wanted to ask was just about Seattle's offense. You know, they've struggled a little bit. I don't know how much of that is maybe if you see anything still with Russell on the finger or related to him coming back from that, but I don't imagine that's changed your opinion of Russell and the quarterback he is at all, despite their struggles on offense.
In my opinion, of Russell will never change. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in this league. I think we all agree to that. The one thing that they do, they stress you with this running game they have. Man, those linemen, they're maulers, right? So our inside guys know they have a job ahead of them. And then they stress you with this play action pass, deep shots of 14 and 16. And both of those guys are fast. 14 is big, Metcalf. 16, Lockett, he's a speedster, good route runner. So we have to make sure we're on top of those things with those guys. And that's the thing they do. They stress you with so much running game that you want to put an extra guy in the box, just like we were talking with the safety. You want to put him in the box, and next thing you know, they're trying to go over top with Metcalf and Lockett. So we have to be very careful on how we do that. And plus the play call, and I have to be on top of my game to make sure I put our guys in the best positions.
Great. Thank you. Happy New Year too.
Same to you.
We'll go last one for Chris.
Hey, Aaron. Just wanted to ask you real quick about Aubrey Pleasant. I'm sure you're not in any hurry to lose him either, but is he a guy that you could see being a defensive coordinator in this league in the near future?
You know what? I think every coach on the defensive side has that capabilities. Just speaking on Aubrey, I mean, Aubrey is a great people person. As you already know, the players love him. The one thing he does a really good job of being honest with the players. And that's one thing that me and him talked about like during the off season for the most part is listen, players want you to be honest. And sometimes it might not feel good. And some of the things you might not say, it might not be what they want to hear, but at least they know that you're telling them the truth. And players respect that. And that's one thing he does a really good job of. And going to his coaching ability, I mean, you see it for yourself. I mean, he's a technician. And plus he understands the game, not just in the back end, but also in the front. So that lets me know right now that he has a chance to be a coordinator at some point. So, I mean, you're right. I'm not trying to lose him right now. So, but he does a good job. And I'm excited about that coach.
I think you've talked about it, and maybe he's talked about it too, that sort of every player you need to figure out, you know, what sort of teaching every player needs when they get to you. How long does that process take? Like, how long does it take you to feel out what a player is going to respond to?
Well, I think you learn that as a coach as you move forward of understanding each one of your players. And that's not an easy deal to do. All right. But you have to understand how can you get each player to play up to a standard that you need to play at. And each player is totally different. I mean, some players you got to love them up, right? And that's what they need. Some players you got to yell at them and curse at them. That's what they need. But as a coach, you have to understand and you have to learn that. I think that takes time as you go in and build a relationship with your players. And once you build that relationship, it's somewhat easy to kind of figure that out.